Good afternoon, everybody, on the MyBC Consulting Facebook page. It's time for another edition of the Where in the World is a W5 Stories question session, I should say. It's where I bring recent connections, long-term connections, and everybody in between and ask them the W5 story questions that begin with who, what, where, when, and why. So who do we have on screen today?
Hi, my name is Dominica Bay, and I'm the founder of Plant Life.
So, Dominica, thank you for joining me today. What are 5 who hats you wear in this world?
Well, I would say the first who hat is definitely being the owner operator alongside my business partner, who's my husband, of Plant Life Brand Accelerators. So, what we do is we help brands either from early stage concept, could just be an idea, to early stage to mid stage to well established in the market. We are passionate about better for you, organic, natural products that are good for the health of humanity and the planet. And my mantra is always nutritious is delicious. So when you use whole food, plant-based ingredients, it tastes good. And I really want to inspire people to make more plant-forward choices and make it easy and make it fun. And so I really take a lot of pride and joy working with a lot of these founders one-on-one, like I know you do. And I feel like, Jeanette, that's why we connect so well, because we both are team founder, and the founder is the spirit of the business. And that's why I always want to support them in any way I can. And really, my whole life, I mean, really, if you say 5 hats, that's probably the biggest hat. It's hard to come up with another hat because I'm literally spend about 13 to 14 hours a day wearing that hat. And that's not exaggeration. That's probably on part, sometimes more. But I do love what I do. So I'm grateful to live my purpose, and I get a lot of joy out of it. And I love connecting with people like yourself in the industry, and just helping people, create the change that I want to see in the world.
So, within there, you did share a couple of them. So, you definitely are a wife, you're a business owner.
Yeah.
When I say who hats, what are like some of the things you like to do in this world other than work, Dominica?
Yeah. Well, yes, I grew up being an athlete. There's one sacred thing in the day that I always do for myself besides work, and besides sleep. Sleep is super important to me, and my personal health. I'm not sharp. I can get little cranky pants if I don't get my 8 hours. So sleep is certainly a priority, but exercise. I grew up
Mhm.
playing a lot of sports. I played varsity field hockey, soccer, and I owned fitness studios for many years, and meal delivery. So that's when my obsession with nutrition came in, because I'm a holistic nutrition and plant-based chef. So because I wanted to fuel my body the best way possible, because I'm competitive and I wanted to win on the field and do my best, I also wanted to nurture myself, because it's such a big part of performance is your nutrition. So that's how I really got into nutrition. And when I started reading labels in the stores and realizing what was in a lot of our foods that we're eating,
Mhm.
I wasn't satisfied. So I started to start making my own food myself and educate myself on what it took to fuel the body, the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, macros. And when I noticed there wasn't a lot of things on shelf that I wanted to personally eat, or wanted, my family members to eat, that's when I decided to have my own brand. So I was a founder, and then from that met lots of friends in the industry, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping others. I'm also a caregiver for my brother,
Mhm.
who is an adult now. He's 40, but he's got schizophrenia, and he's been diagnosed since he was 18. So I would spend, a lot of my day, even though I'm working, he's there, and just making sure he's safe, and making sure, he's, all basic necessities, from, sleeping to taking medication to eating to just quality of life, just having family around him that loves him and looks after him. So I definitely look at the world in a different lens. I definitely think health is wealth, and food, let food by the medicine. It's either poison or medicine. And so
Mhm.
that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I think preventative medicine is the biggest gift we can give ourselves. We can't control everything, but if we can get a good night's sleep and stay hydrated and live our purpose and try to mitigate stress as much as possible and eat a whole food diet, and whatever that looks like for you, right? There's no rule book, but whatever that looks like for you, as local as possible, as fresh as possible, as nutrient dense as possible, I feel like that is going to give you the best ROI in terms of your longevity and your happiness.
So where do you live and where can you help people in with your business?
Okay, yeah. So I live in Kitsilano. I live 2 blocks from the beach. I'm definitely a beach girl. Although as we were chatting earlier, I need to get out there more. But yeah, I love being outside. I love nature. I also love that I can whip up to UBC or Rec Beach Stairs and do a workout up there. The trails I love so much. But we work, my husband and I work online. So we work with brands. A lot are BC, but we have brands that are in Calgary. I've got brands right now in Toronto, in Quebec. I've got brands in the States that I work with as well. So we work with American companies that want to launch into Canada. And because we launched a US brand in the States, we understand the nuances of it because we operated a business in the States. So we know what it would be like if you're American and wanted to come across the border and launch a brand here. It's not as simple as just updating your artwork and putting some French on there. So we also help brands that are Canadian and want to launch in the States as well. So we do that as well. But it depends on the stage of the brand and where they're at and if they're ready for it. And, a lot of it comes down to making sure that they have the foundation set up for expansion to do it properly. Launching in the States, as most of us know, is extremely capital intensive. I would say it's 5 to even 10x what it would cost to launch a brand in Canada. So in a way, although we have 1/10 of the population, particularly here in Vancouver and the lower mainland, I would say in BC, we are on like a hotbed of innovators. I mean, a lot of the major brands that are doing really well and winning on shelf are incubated and birthed out of BC. So, I mean, there's innovation everywhere, but particularly this is a hot pocket. And so I really want to encourage people that if they feel that they're missing out, to just look around you, build up in your own backyard first. Go a mile long, an inch deep, really focus on your neighbors, your community, and then organically grow from there.
Great. So to wrap this up, Dominica, what's your why in life?
My why is to even the playing field. Okay. So there's something that I'm sure a lot of people, realize, but don't realize how bad it is. And that's a discrepancy of women in food and particularly women in color. Okay. So it all comes down to dollars, right? Now, to give you perspective, last year I worked with 56 BC brands, right? Of those 56, 54 were female founded. Okay. Now, of those 54, all right, 38 were beautiful women of color. Okay. I'm telling you this why. This is the innovation. Not to say that only my brand, my company represents all the innovative brands. I'm not saying that. But if you look around and you look at the people that won the BC Food and Beverage Awards, if you look at people that are winning Next Awards, if you look at really where the innovation coming, it's women, and a large chunk are beautiful women of color. So this is where things get really gnarly. If you look at where the funding dollars are going, okay, of funding. So obviously we can all get going with bootstraps and maybe line of credits and loans and BDC and Van City and whatever, and family and friends rounds and whatever you want to call it, the country club round. But then it gets to the point where if you really want to make it, you have to earn money, and you can't get away from it. You gotta raise money for working capital, for packaging, for production runs, because you do a run, but you typically got upfront the cost for 6 months before you see anything in return. Plus, when you launch into mass, there's lots of program fees, and it goes on and on. So money is really big difference between success and failure. You can have the best brand, you can have the best product, you can have the best spirited founder, you can have all the things going for you, but if you don't have the capital to expand, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So this is where we get really tripped up as women, particularly, is when we talk about fundraising. It's never been more difficult to do it. It typically takes anywhere from 12 to 18 months. And if people think that they're going to fundraise, and I'm talking around, now you could go and raise money for a bank or something and it could take less. But if you're actually going out there, knocking on doors, doing the hard yard, which is really tough to raise money, get people over their wallets, it's anywhere from 12 to 18 months minimum, unless you do a small round, maybe 6 months. So here's where things get sticky. Of that effort, okay, 2%, I repeat, 2% of investment dollars right now are going to female brands. And you just heard what I said, over 67% are female operators. Okay, so that it doesn't make sense. Of that 2%, 0.2% go to women of color. Now, you just heard the stats that I shared. Does that math make sense to you?
No.
No, it doesn't make sense, does
No.
it? I mean,
No.
no, and not in any sense of the word does that make sense on any level, right? In fact, it's insane of what's happening. And then there you've got some programs that basically just their regular program with regular bank fees and regular credit checks and all that, and they just tack on women in front of it and maybe waive an application fee and say, "Oh, we're supporting women in business." I'm sorry, nonsense. You're not really doing anything. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to make a dark light on this, but you know what? If we don't talk about it, nothing's going to change. And we're talking about local, we're talking about fixing food systems, we're talking about climate change and sustainability and healthy, nutritious food that is going to help keep people out of hospitals so we don't have to spend so much tax dollars on healthcare. What about wellness care? Instead of wasting money on sick care, let's spend
Oh,
money
I
on
so
actual
agree with you.
healthcare, right? And so what if we actually invested in these incredible female innovative entrepreneurs that are putting more healthy, delicious products on the shelf that aren't full of garbage and junk and don't have preservatives and have nourishing full food ingredients that actually fill our cup and our spirit and nourish our heart and soul and actually give us the vitamins, minerals, and macros we need to thrive and do our best so we stay out of the hospital. And so when we go to work or we go to school, we thrive and our brains are alert and our minds are working. And that's my why.
Love it.
In a nutshell.
Love it. So thank you so much, Dominica, for sharing your unique to UW5 story. And this month of March is Women in History Month. And I think, my friend, you are going to be one of the women in history that are making history currently. So if we want to reach out to Dominica, we'll make sure we get her to put her information into the chat box below. And I encourage you all, walk up to somebody and ask them the unique W5 story questions of who, what, where, when, and why. Until next Monday, thank you, everyone.